On this episode, we're going to talk about your habits. Hey everybody, this is John Farkas with episode 6 of the Fitness Roller Coaster. A couple days ago, I was talking to a client. We were trying to work through a few challenges with forming healthier habits and really getting back on track. So it reminded me of a short story that I first heard from author Darren Hardy that I really wanted to share with you today. Starts off, an old philosopher was walking through the forest with his young apprentice. They're walking by a weed on the side of the path, and the philosopher tells the apprentice to pull the weed up from the ground. So, of course, the young apprentice bends down and pulls the weed up from the ground, and everything's good. They keep going on their way. A little bit while later, down the trail, they walk up to a small tree. The old philosopher says to the young apprentice to pull the tree up from the ground. Of course, the young apprentice looks a little hesitant, but he goes to work. He's pushing and pulling and digging, and he does everything he can think of to remove the tree. It takes him about 45 minutes, and he's covered in sweat. His hands are disgusting. They're bleeding. He's covered in dirt, but he finally got the tree out of the ground. The philosopher said, great job, and then they continue on walking down the path. A little bit while later, they come across this giant oak tree. So the philosopher then once again turns to the young apprentice and tells him to pull the oak tree up from the ground. The young apprentice, keep in mind, he's already exhausted from the small tree, and he's looking at this giant oak tree and he can't even see the top of it. So he turns to the old philosopher and says, "There's no way, that's impossible." He tells the philosopher that the small tree was barely possible and that there is no way that he can get this mighty oak up from the ground. The philosopher then turns to the young apprentice and says, "That is exactly what your habits are like. The longer you let them grow, the deeper the root system becomes and the taller they grow in your life. They might even get to the point where you don't even think it's possible to uproot them from your life." So the reason this story is important, and my question to you today is, do you have any bad habits that are limiting your success? Or are there things that you know you need to change, but you haven't made them a priority for one reason or another? Important message here is to don't let bad habits grow in your life. It's never too late to change, but the longer you change, the more difficult the change will be. That's all I have for now. Have an awesome day.